Welcome to the Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup. Here's a quick roundup of what happened yesterday in race 1 here, the third race of the 2016 championship. It was Somkit Chantra, number 18, that got pole, but not the best of starts for him as Andy Izdihar managed to get himself the whole shot, number 23. Somkit Chantra soon made his way to the front, though, and tried to break away as Izdihar maintained second place, but a mistake from the Thai rider pushed him wide and pumped him back into third place. Then there was a big battle between 6 riders that managed to break away from the rest of the pack, and it was really a case of picking any one of them. The only retirement we saw was Australian rider Tom Edwards, who went out at the end of lap 1, and then cue this huge battle for the win. Number 2 there is a rider you'll see plenty of in this second race this afternoon. Kazuki Masaki, Yan Yamanaka and Jerry Salim took turns to lead. Every single member of this 6-rider gaggle took turns to lead the race. In the background there, Somkit Chantra, having set pole position, made a few errors on the final lap, and really that put pay to any chances of winning. Andy Izdihar tried an audacious move into the last corner, which really made sure that he didn't get anywhere near the podium, and it was a photo finish on the line. 3 riders within 400ths of a second of each other. Jerry Salim, the winner, ahead of Aguro Masaki and Yamanaka. So a warm welcome to you. It's Sunday here at the Losail International Circuit. 25-degree air temperature, 48-degree ground temperature, and let me tell you, that is up by a good 20 degrees on a few days that we've had so far. A lot hotter here as we arrived at the circuit, and less wind as well. 3 races into the championship then. It's a 6-round calendar. They started off following the World Superbike Championship back in Chang a couple of weeks ago. We're here in Losail with the MotoGP paddock. Then they'll go to Sepang with World Superbike again, Zhuhai, and then they will be back with the MotoGP paddock in October for Motegi and Sepang. Steve Day here alongside Matt Burton. What an amazing race we saw yesterday. 6 riders, any one of them could have picked up the win, and in the end Jerry Salim, cool and calm, to take the spoils.
Yeah, one young man who was probably disappointing more than most was the man on pole, Somkit Chantra. Dominant throughout practice and qualifying. Tried to make that breakaway very early on, and when he couldn't, he seemed to just lose a little bit of composure, and Chantra dropped back down to 4th place in the championship standings. It's pretty tight at the top, as you'd expect, after just 3 rounds of the championship. 10 points covering those top 4 riders, but Chantra, I think, will be out for a bit of revenge in this second 14-lap race.
This is Andy Izdihar, number 23, another member of that battle at the front. This is a championship, if you've not tuned in before, the Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup run by Dorna. It's a platform for upcoming talent in and around Asia and Australasia for riders aged 13 to 18, although there's a few riders out there that are 12 that have got special dispensation purely on the basis that they will turn 13 during the season. They're all on exactly the same machinery, as you can see. Honda NSF 250R Moto3 motorcycles, 4-stroke cylinders, and 4-stroke single cylinder, sorry. And this is Kazuki Masaki, another name to look out for. Yesterday, Kazuki finished in 3rd place, and it's still in the championship hunt. I mean, realistically, there are those 6 riders that were at the front yesterday, Matt, are probably going to fight for this championship all the way. As you can see, Doha in the background there.
As you said a little bit earlier on, Steve, feels much, much hotter here in Doha today, and there's certainly a lot less winds than these riders had to encounter yesterday. There was a young man who was right in that victory battle. Looked like he might actually claim a very first victory in this Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup at one stage. Ryusai Yamanaka, 3rd in the championship on 49 points. Lost his 100% podium record in yesterday's race. It wasn't for the one to try, though. He was a very narrow 4th place, and that keeps him firmly in early championship contention. The 14-year-old Japanese rider, 15th overall in 2015. So we've already seen a significant step forward by Yamanaka.
Yeah, this is Ayagura, who's 5th on the grid and leads the championship after yesterday's race. Number 9, you'll see on the front of his bike. And Ayagura won the opening race at Chang International Circuit a couple of weeks ago, then finished 4th in race 2 and was 2nd yesterday.
Yeah, completing that second row of the grid. Very shortly we'll see the number 4, Jerry Salim, who got his tactics absolutely spot on yesterday. We felt that it was perhaps a little bit of a risky strategy to lead all the way down that start-finish straight out of the final corner, and he just about hung on to claim his first victory in the Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup. He did so by just 8 thousandths of a second from Agura. Impressed me yesterday about Jerry Salim, Steve. He didn't panic in the early part of the race. We noticed how he just was happy to hang back at that lead group of 6, and then when it really, almost like he kept some good life in his tyres, and when he needed to attack in those final 2 or 3 laps, that's when he came on really strong.
Yeah, there are vast differences between all riders, but particularly if you look at, for example, Jerry Salim that you've just mentioned, number 4, just looking back here, that was number 19 there, Rico Sugiura, that you're looking at, who completely wiped out Tom Edwards. That's really unfortunate for Tom. But going back to what you were saying, Jerry Salim, very smooth, didn't make any silly moves, and he was exactly the same last year. He's quite consistent. And just sort of waited to pounce. It didn't quite happen for him last year. This year, maybe. Somkit Chantra, on the other hand, is sort of the opposite, really. He's all elbows. He gets stuck into every race and does sometimes make the odd error.
Shogo Kawasaki, Japanese rider, heading the 3rd row of the grid. There was quite big gaps in qualifying between the top 10. Somkit Chantra, the number 18 on pole position, down to Irfan Ardinsyah, the Indonesian. 2.6 seconds between the top 10 on the grid. But as we saw in yesterday's 14-lap opener, a great battle for the victory. Warapad Niam Sakul, 8th place on the grid. He finished yesterday's opener in 11th place, which matched his season best result so far at round 2 in Chang.
Yeah, he's lifted himself up into 14th place overall in the championship with that as well. So, a good effort for him. Irfan Ardinsyah, he had a moment yesterday where he was in 7th place and looked like he might be able to close down on the top 6, but just got himself involved in a battle with Kawasaki, and in the end the pair of them sort of tripped each other up, and they weren't able to get anywhere near the top 6. He really did look too good. And here's Yuki Kuni, the Japanese rider, who finished in 6th in the opening race at Chang a few weeks back, then a couple of 8th place finishes following it up.
Yeah, he had a real good battle with his fellow Japanese rider Shogo Kawasaki in yesterday's race. Less than a 1/10 of a second split the two of them. I guess the goal for those two young men will be to try and go away with that lead group of 6 who were pretty dominant right from the early point of the race. So, yeah, something for Kawasaki and Kuni to aim for. They've got to try and latch on to the back of that lead group. They did finish 14 seconds back yesterday, so over the race distance they were losing a second a lap. So it's a big ask, but certainly something for them to aim for.
I suppose the big question here, Matt, is number 18, Somkit Chantra, on pole position. Every tactic he used yesterday, as we look at him on screen here, didn't really work. He tried blasting away from, he didn't get a good start, but once he got to the front, he tried blasting away, made a mistake, fell back, tried to get stuck in, didn't work, then decided late on, maybe I'll hold back and then I'll pounce, but then got into a few other mistakes as well. I wonder whether he'll try and blast away at the front again this time and see if it works, because whatever he did yesterday, it just didn't come off.
Yeah, it seemed like after a couple of early mistakes, Steve, he got just a little bit rattled, didn't he? Sort of knocked him out of his rhythm a little bit. You did feel that he was going to come on strong, certainly in those final couple of laps. It never really happened. He was never able to get his front wheel into the frame.
One of the taller riders, Somkit Chantra, and really focused. Missed a large part of last season due to injury, but he was a race winner last year as well, and on the podium a couple of times. There is no doubt that Somkit Chantra has started this season believing that not only he can win this championship, but he should win this championship, because a couple of the real young starlets that were in this Asia Talent Cup last season have now moved on to either Red Bull Rookies or the CEV Repsol Moto3 Junior World Championship. So it's a real opportunity, but in a 6-round championship, there's 12 races. There's only a few occasions you can really afford to tip off anywhere, and we'll see how he gets on in this one. The two Japanese riders are the tricky ones, aren't they? at the front. I know there's 3 that are up there, Yamanaka included, but Kazuki Masaki number 2, and especially Ai Agura, who leads the championship. They've got a few nifty tricks up their sleeve when they're out on circuit, and the tactics they use when in amongst big groups of riders.
Yeah, especially Ai Agura. He was causing a few people to sit up mid-corner in the race yesterday. Masaki, of course, we say for a 15-year-old, he does have a lot of experience in this Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup. 6 podiums now in this series for the 15-year-old Japanese rider. 5 podiums last year, including a couple of wins on home soil in front of his home crowd at the Twin Ring Motegi last October, and he followed that up with another win at the Malaysian Grand Prix.
Should just point out that there was some way off yesterday, the lap records that were set the previous year. Now the conditions are a bit better here today, slightly sunnier. The lap record belongs to Helmi Asman from last year, 2:10.8. The actual outright best lap came pole position for Nakarina Puvapat, a 2:10.6. Yesterday's fast lap with a 2:12 flat from Somkit Chantra. We may well see slightly improved lap times here this afternoon.
Yeah, best lap in the race yesterday was 1.5 seconds almost, Steve, off Chandra's pole time. You know, these guys don't get access to qualifying tyres. It's the same rubber throughout practice, qualifying and the race. So there was a fairly strong headwind blowing down the start-finish straight yesterday. That would have had an impact. But yeah, lap time's actually quite dramatically slower than what we saw in practice and qualifying.
Yeah, and of course a lot to do with that was the fact that they were constantly tripping each other up. The green flag at the back is waving frantically, and that means that the red lights are ready to go out, and we will begin. Race 2 in the Asia Talent Cup. A better start this time from Somkit Chantra, but again, it looks like Andy Izdihar, number 23, that may well just have the edge. It's a long drag, though, down to turn 1, and immediately there, number 2, Kazuki Masaki, looking to come through, and Ai Agura from the second row just says, no, you don't. Slides up the inside, and he's run wide, though, Matt. He has run wide. Yeah,
Ai Agura, big mistake. Just got in a fraction too hot on the brakes into that first corner. He led going in, and he's come out now down in 4th place. So it's number 23, Andy Izdihar, who made the great start off the line in yesterday's race, and now is the early leader. Tucked in behind him is the poleman Chantra. Agura looking to pick up lost places straight away up the inside of number 4. Yesterday's race from the Jerry Salim. Salim shuts the door.
Yeah, good stuff there from Jerry Salim. He's not having any of that at the moment. Then it's Izdihar and Chantra and Masaki at the front, much like it was yesterday. Further back there's a move from Ardian Sar, the Indonesian rider, sporting the number 6, who's moving up through the fields. Likewise, number 5, Yuki Kuni. All of these riders, of course, desperate to try and get themselves in the top 5 after what happened yesterday.
So it's Izdihar coming under a bit of early pressure from Chantra. It is number 2, Kazuki Masaki, in 3rd place. That's where he started on the front row of the grid. Salim's still able to keep Ai Agura behind him in 4th place. Now, can Chantra match his qualifying speed? He wasn't able to break away in yesterday's 14-lap opener, and at the moment he's got Andy Izdihar just in front of him on track.
Can't get over how different the circuit looks in daylight compared to night. It's just like a completely different circuit. We are then at the front of this race on lap 1. It's a 14-lapper, which is some marathon for these youngsters. But it is Andy Izdihar that leads, as Matt pointed out, number 23, ahead of Somkit Chantra. The gap now closed back down to 3rd place, where Kazuki Masaki sits. He was a regular in last season's championship. Tight defensive line there from Izdihar. He's not allowing anyone through. Number 12 there, that is Ryusei Yamanaka, desperately trying to make up ground after a poor start.
Yeah, we're going to have to complete the first lap. Interesting that Yuki Kuni and Shogo Kawasaki, the 2 Japanese riders who we talked about getting into this league group, well, they've got away with them at the moment, at the end of the first lap. It's led over the line by Andy Izdihar, but we're going to see now the slipstream come into huge effect, and it's Somkit Chantra, the pole man, that sweeps into the lead through that first corner. Runs a little bit of a wide line. Ai Agura there on the number 9 at the back of your picture, again a little bit wide coming out of the exit of the first corner, and Agura slipped back now into 5th place, but Kawasaki and Kuni have managed to get away with the lead group this time round.
Yeah, it's looking pretty good for Shogo Kawasaki at the moment, the 13-year-old who's so far not had himself a top 5 finish, but he's up a couple of places, as Matt pointed out, in 5th place with 13 laps to go. Interestingly, on this circuit, unlike others, sometimes you get to the twisty sections of corners and that really bunches the riders up. Well, here it's actually on the start-finish straight where they all bunch up, because they're just getting in the toe of each other, and all of a sudden a 3 or 4 battle lead at the front has been turned into what? 9 or 10 bites there, as we see here Jerry Salim, number 4, trying to find a way past Masaki, number 2.
Well, this is a little bit like what we saw yesterday, Steve. Chantra managed to get himself into the lead on the second lap, and then he looked like he tried to get his head down to bolt away at the front, made a couple of mistakes, and was reeled back in by the pack pretty quickly. Now he's got clear track in front of him again, Chantra, in the early stages, so he's going to probably try and stretch out the field again. Andy Izdihar, he has extended that lead actually already up to about half a second, Chantra, so we'll keep a close eye on him and Izdihar. It's at third place for Masaki and Jerry Salim. There's a big group of riders, a quartet behind those top 4. The gap between Salim in 4th and Aguru in 5th place is up to 0.8 of a second, so they won't want to let those top 3 guys get away. It's just breaking up a little bit more than what we saw yesterday early on, Steve.
It is, yeah, and Samkit Chantra, number 18, and Andy Izdihar, number 23, were the 2 riders that really made the biggest errors on the final lap. As you see Alberto Puig there, one of the organisers and mentors for these young riders, looking at various points of the circuit. Chantra and Izdihar really did make a bit of a meal out of yesterday's race. Izdihar especially, an audacious attempt to go up the inside into the final corner, lost all momentum and really went down. There's a 2:11.4, and there you go, a bit of clear track, bit of sunshine as well, and the lap times are going right down. Yeah,
massive improvement compared to yesterday's best race lap. That was Ryusa Yamanaka, a 2:13.4 yesterday, so Chantra 2 seconds quicker than the best pace in yesterday's race. So this is Chantra, as we said. He did this in race 2 in Chang, got away at the front and was able to bolt away and win by some considerable margin. Izdihar desperately trying to go with him. He was half a second slower on that previous lap. Chantra and Izdihar, the only 2 in the field, into the 2:11s.
21 riders out there so far, all 21 still on circuit, which is good news. Tom Edwards, who was wiped out of the race yesterday, the young Aussie, I can tell you, was in 12th place. Number 8 he is. He's just behind one of the Turkish twins, Chan On-Chu, number 3, as we see a replay further back here. That's Ayagura, number 9, and Yamanaka just behind him. And on the exit there, Ayagura onto the AstroTurf.
He's had real problems with that first corner. That's on the 3rd lap, Steve. And every lap, Ayagura has made a mess of turning them on. We saw it on the very first lap. He came from 5th place on the grid to take the whole shot, ran wide and dropped back down to about 3rd or 4th. Second lap did exactly the same. And now he's having to fight back to get himself into podium contention, because that mistake, big moment as he got onto the grass coming out of turn number 1. It's dropped him now back down to 7th place.
It's very strange that. I mean, he is obviously the championship leader. He had a race here yesterday. The only thing I can suggest that he maybe is struggling with is because there was more of a headwind yesterday. Maybe he's just using the same braking markers as he did yesterday, and he's just overshooting the corner.
Well, he's done it now 3 laps in a row. There's the race leader Chantra as they come through the final corner to complete this 3rd lap. Agura then trying to pick his way back through the field. Behind him he's got number 15 Shogo Kawasaki and Yuki Kuni. So this is a 3-way Japanese fight for 6th place.
Chantra doing a good job here. Let's see what his lap time is. It's quicker still. A 2:11.220 then for Chantra. Izdihar 2:11.3. Likewise for Kazuki Masaki, and Jerry Salim is there as well. There goes Ayagura. Can he get round turn 1 this time without running wide? And there you go. There's still a little bit wide, but slightly better fist of it this time.
At least he kept it on the tarmac. Chantra and Izdihar, they are a full second quicker now than Masaki and Salim in 3rd and 4th place. So Masaki in yesterday's race winner Salim have found it very difficult to run this hot pace being set by Chantra and Izdihar at the front.
Izdihar needs the points as well. He failed to finish the first race of the season over in Thailand, and yesterday, as I mentioned, really didn't get off to the best of finishes after being in the top 6 group. But now these 2 are breaking away. Some Weetabix has been had in this corner. Samkit Chantra, number 18, 4th in the championship, but only 10 points off the lead. Of course, it is early stages, so we don't really need to look too much into the championship, but this is completely different race to what we witnessed yesterday.
It certainly is. Chantra's lead over half a second now on Izdihar. Big gap now has emerged between these top 2. 2.3 seconds is covering now that gap between Izdihar and Masaki.
Speed on the start-finish straights here are coming up on the time screen. Samkit Chantra I mean, you wouldn't think it, would you? It depends sometimes how quickly you get onto the straights, but Chantra is losing about 6 or 7 kilometres to one or two of his rivals. It doesn't seem to be affecting him so much at the moment. But he is tall.
Yeah, Izdihar's just closed up a fraction through those fast right-handers through turns 13 and 14. They're coming down to complete lap number 4. And as you can see there on the graphic, if Chantra brings it home for another 25 points, then he will take over from Agura at the top of the championship by 5 points. Agura at the moment still back down in 6th place, involved in that great fight with Yamanaka and Kawasaki.
Yeah, that's not a surprise to see Izdihar with the fastest lap. As you mentioned rightly, he's closing in on him. A 2:11 flat then for Izdihar. If Izdihar can get in touch now with Chantra and maybe they get involved in a squabble, it's not beyond the realms of possibility that 3.5 second gap back to Misaki could soon shrink.
Yeah, Izdihar clawed back 2/10 in that 3rd sector on the previous lap. You can see 2:11.097, so he was almost 3/10 quicker on that last lap than Chantra, and he's closed the gap now right up on the race leader. And there's an interesting battle emerging behind them for 3rd place, because Misaki and Salim have been caught pretty quickly by Ryusu Yamanaka. And Yamanaka has just put about a second now between himself and Agura and Kawasaki. So Yamanaka now, it's a 3-way fight for 3rd behind this duo in the lead. You can just hit the top of your screen there. Number 12, Yamanaka, right in podium contention again.
And Chantra really didn't get out of that last turn too well, and Izdihar closes in a little more. Izdihar, of course, a bit of a Groundhog Day feeling for him. This time 12 months ago, he woke up on race 2 in Qatar and won the race, finishing 9th overall in the championship as Alberto Puig, of course, continues to look on.
And this is the section of the track on the previous lap, Steve, where Izdihar was much the superior rider. He's having a look up the inside, maybe. No, not quite close enough. But this is where Izdihar was the stronger rider on the previous lap. He's closing right up now on Chantra. The gap down to just over 1/10 of a second.
Sort of a one-line set of corners there. I think Izdihar was almost backing off a little to prevent himself from pulling off anything too silly. They're about to come up towards the final turn. Will Izdihar... Well, this is what Izdihar did yesterday. He's quick into this turn, and he's going to think about maybe the slipstream now on the start-finish straight.
Well, he'll know that there's still a long way to go. This is about to complete lap number 5, so 9 to go. Now Izdihar, he's had a good long look now at Somkhat Chantra, so he'll know if he's got the speed to perhaps break away. Chantra, Izdihar does lead over the line, courtesy of the slipstream. So for the first time in this race, number 23, Andy Izdihar. Chantra, though, fights straight back in the braking zone for the first corner. Can he pull it back to the apex? He's running a little bit wide. Will Izdihar sweep back underneath? No, he won't. Chantra's got the inside line for 2.
Yeah, Chantra just hugging sort of up inside the pit wall there on the start-finish straight. He made Izdihar go the long way round, and it's not quite worked out for him, but now we could see a decent race at the front then between the Thai rider Somkhat Chantra, number 18, and number 23, the Indonesian Andy Izdihar. The gap further back is 4 seconds, so they're not making any inroads just yet.
Yeah, Yamanaka has taken 4th place of Salim in that chasing group. And that chasing pack really do need a bit of a dogfight to emerge between Izdihar and Chantra to give them any chance of clawing back at that 4.2 second deficit, as Steve said. There is that battle for 3rd, just coming into shot briefly. It's Misaki, Yamanaka, Salim, Agura, Kawasaki and Cooney in that group.
Agura in that group is the fastest of them all. He's 2:12.005, a good 6 or 7 tenths quicker than those around him. So Agura could find himself up into the top 3. And if he was able to finish on the podium, you'd fancy him to hold on to his championship lead after a few early moments. Now then, Izdihar trying to pull out of the slipstream here. This is sort of like a back straight for these guys on these Moto3 machines. Now into the fasts. Right-handers at turns 12, 13 and 14. As I mentioned before, one line here. You can't really find a way around the outside unless you're really on terms and you fancy a brave move up the inside.
Izdihar's really strong through that long sweeping turn 11, Steve. He gets great drive coming through there, and he closes right up on Chantra. Not quite close enough to show Chantra a wheel going through turn number 12, but he seems pretty happy there just to sit there. Andy, his guy looks very, very comfortable behind Chantra.
This is the big problem, though. Chantra hugs up the inside here on the inside of the pit wall. Oh, no, he's not this time. That's interesting. It worked for him last time. I'm surprised he even went to this direction, because now he's opened the door up for the slipstream and he's gone up the inside. So I would expect Izdihar maybe to just squeeze Chantra out here up the inside.
Yeah, Izdihar is through.
Good move that then from Izdihar, and he takes the lead of the race. They're both in the 12s there. The guys behind are matching the pace at the moment, so they'll be praying that these two consistently now trip each other up to close that gap down. But to be honest, it doesn't look like that's going to happen at this particular moment in time. It's a two-way fight for the lead.
Yeah, well, this is a chance now for Somkhat Chantra just to have a close look at Andy Izdihar. He'll know that he's very strong through those third and fourth sectors. It's a great fight for third going on behind these leads. So here we are joining it now. There's a second between Ryusai Yamanaka in third place and Cooney, the number 5, in 8th. Somewhere in there, right in the middle, is number 4, Jerry Salim, race winner from yesterday. So he's not, again, just seems happy to sit towards the back end of that pack. Keep his nose, keep his powder dry, keep out of trouble. Keep some grip for later on in the race.
Kazuki Masaki there, number 2, up ahead of Yamanaka then, number 12. Agura was the quickest of this bunch a few laps ago. He's got the number 9 plate on the front then. Jerry Salim, number 4 at the front. It's still Izdihar from Chantra. Just under 2/10 of a second the lead for Andy Izdihar.
Yeah, Kawasaki and Cooney at the back of this group. Of course, they would have had the slipstream being right at the back, but on that previous lap, they were just a fraction quicker than the race leader, Andy Izdihar, who comes through turn 15. Runs a tight line through here, as Steve said, the number 23. No way through for Somkhat Chantra. Masaki has been at the front of this battle for third place for some time. The gap now, Steve, for the first time up to over 5 seconds, so they're not making any impression on hunting down these top two. It's Izdihar hugging that curb again on the left-hand side of your screens. Chantra by a fraction led over the line, and he'll hold it going through the first corner.
Holds the line very well there, Somkhat Chantra here. Andy Izdihar was almost on the artificial grass there, and but luckily he stays in place. As a change there as Ardian Saar moves up into 9th place. This is the moment where he makes the move. Technically that was already done on the start-finish straight. You can't really class that as an over around the outside overtaking manoeuvre, but these two so far are the pick of the bunch. They are now 5.3 seconds clear, so despite overtaking each other regularly, the rest at the moment not being able to capitalise, and Yamanaka has just gone up into 3rd place ahead of Kazuki Masaki. So the number 12 rider, who coming into this race was 3rd in the championship, is now 3rd in the race.
Yeah, Yamanaka. Agura still right in there, as is Jerry Salim. Izdihar just does seem pretty happy, tucking behind Chantra. This is where we saw Chantra make a big mistake in yesterday's race very early on when he dropped out of the lead back to about 4th place. Here's that group of 6. This is the battle for 3rd.
See, the lap times that the guys that are battling in 3rd at the moment are doing was good enough yesterday to challenge for the win, but these two out front here, Chantra number 18 and Izdihar number 23, have just been able to find that extra bit of pace here this afternoon.
Well, because these two, Steve, have been fairly clever, they've not got themselves locked into, they're not engaging in an all-out war where they're chopping and changing and costing each other time, although that was, well, both of them actually. Chantra running through 15, stuck a couple of wheels onto the dirt, and Izdihar was right behind him. He kind of just, his trail of line, he just followed him straight in there. Now, that would have cost him a fraction of time. I don't think it's going to bring the likes of Masaki and Yamanaka back into contention. But while these two haven't been exchanging overtakes, they've been able to run a fairly consistent rhythm at the front, while the group behind them, they're chopping and changing all the time. That's costing them the chance to catch up, because there's not a great deal of difference in lap times between these top two and the guys that are chasing behind them. It's just the fact that the guys, this group of 6, they're overtaking and getting themselves locked in a bit of a battle, so they're not closing the gap.
Interestingly, Somkhat Chantra there, despite going through the dirt, has still managed a 2:11.8, which is considerably quicker than the huge pack that's going on behind. Ali Ansari is in 9th place. Sujiwara just goes past the commentary box in 10th, ahead of Niamsak and Sakul. Len Edwards in 12th. Chan On Chu is in 13th. Khairuddin, younger brother of Fahmi, is in 14th, and Utama in 15th at the moment, taking up the last points ahead of Denit Sonchu and Bahatin Sofuoglu.
So Chantra still leads the way. Can't shake off Andy Izdihar though at all. He might need to reel off a few more high 2.11s, Chantra, if he's to try and win this race and take the lead back in the championship. He's got a great opportunity to do so with Ayagura not really making any impression. He's still in that battle for 3rd place. 5.8 seconds back now, Masaki in 3rd. Less than a second actually covering that group of 6. It is a great fight for 3rd spot.
Andy Izdihar in 2nd place, number 23. I mentioned before, earlier on in this race, that he has had a fall already this season whilst fighting at the front. 2 falls in the space of 4 races will be costly. He needs the points here, so if he's got the ace up his sleeve to win the race, good on him, but he doesn't want to try anything too silly here. He's not got anyone behind him. There's a massive gap of almost 6 seconds now back to this group for 3rd. Izdihar must claim at least 20 points here in this race.
Yeah, the 18-year-old Indonesian, he has got race-winning pedigree here. For those of you casting your minds back 1 year, he won the 2nd race here at the Lusail International Circuit 1 year ago. And there he is, number 23, tucked into the slipstream behind the race leader, Somkiat Chantra. Lap 9 completed. Izdihar moves out of the slipstream and moves back into the lead of this race.
Chantra doesn't really seem too fussed about that for now. Look at these guys, though. There is Ayagura, number 9, going up ahead of Yamanaka, but it was Kazuki Masaki that led them through turn 1. So Masaki, number 2, is up into 3rd place. Just behind them, then Jerry Salim, number 4, who was yesterday's winner, ahead of Kawasaki, number 15, and then Cooney, number 5.
Yeah, Jerry Salim just put in his personal best lap of the race, and he's just found a way up the inside of number 12, Yamanaka. So is this the Salim charge back towards a 2nd successive podium finish? He has, as we said, just put in a PB lap of the race. So we saw it yesterday. He was quite happy just to wait until the final 3 or 4 laps before he decided to get his head down and attack at the front of that lead group. He's way out of victory contention here, though, today, because it's Andy Izdihar just putting 2 or 3 bike lengths between himself and Chantra. This is the sections of the circuit where we know Izdihar has been very, very strong. Seems to have his bike handling in the change of direction a little bit better than Chantra.
Andy Izdihar 18 from Indonesia, Somkit Chantra 17. So both of these riders, they know each other quite well because they started last year out in the championship as well. But this lap is looking pretty good, as you say, from Izdihar. Chantra just able to close in a bit, though. It was up to just under 3/10 the gap at the front in sector 2. It's come down now to, well, you can see for yourselves, under 1/10 between the 2 leaders. Further back, Masaki still in 3rd place, ahead of Agura and then Salim. So Salim is making a late charge, as he does. You can see here in the daylight there, just in the background as they turn on to the start-finish straight. A wonderful view of Doha, the capital of Qatar.
So Chantra knows that he can get close in the slipstream. Chantra initially was shown on the timing screen as they're coming over the line first, but it was actually Andy Izdihar. It's all going to be about these 2 and the slipstream coming out of the final corner with 4 laps to go. Izdihar still leading from Chantra. Masaki, Agura and Salim, they've definitely picked up their pace in that battle for 3rd place. They've all just set personal best laps of the race into the low 2:12s. In fact, Masaki, Agura and Salim on that lap number 10 were quicker than this lead 2 of Andy Izdihar and Somkiat Chantra.
Chantra there just playing with fire a little as he went over the curbs and almost onto the artificial grass. He hasn't lost too much time, but he was getting closer and closer there to Izdihar. That's the thing with those 2, as we see there, Yamanaka squeezing or or trying to anyway, underneath Shogo Kawasaki. That is the thing with the two guys out front, Matt. Izdihar and Chantra, none of them tend to, in previous experiences, give up anything. They are both up for a last-ditch effort up the inside, which could prove fruitful for this big group behind.
Masaki has been able to keep himself at the front of this group for the majority of this race. It's been a great job by the 15-year-old Japanese rider. There is Ayaguru just behind him. Of course, the young man who does lead the championship, did lead the championship going into this second round in Qatar. 3-point lead over Jerry Salim. Still nothing between Izdihar and Chantra at the front of this race, coming through the penultimate corner on lap number 11. They've had plenty of time to size each other up, work out where the strengths and weaknesses are ahead of what surely will be a last lap shootout between the two.
Chantra was gutted not to be able to finish anywhere near the podium, having been quickest through free practice and obviously getting pole by a clear 7/10 of a second. 6th place yesterday in race 1 was not what the doctor ordered. Now Andy Izdihar on the inside. It makes Somkiat Chantra go wide.
And that's 2 laps in a row now, Steve, where Izdihar's been able to come out of the last corner and Chantra has not been able to slipstream him to the line. So Chantra now knows that he's got to be, well, he's got to be kissing Izdihar's back wheel, or he's got to be in front of him coming out of the last corner, because 2 laps in a row now he's tried to slipstream him to the line and it hasn't quite worked. He's been mighty close, but if it stays the same on the last lap, it will be the spoils to Izdihar.
And that is a very good point. Somkiat Chantra not able to get as advantageous slipstream as some of the other shorter and smaller and lighter riders. Andy Izdihar as well, it's worth pointing out, is very quick on the entry to the final turn, 16 here as well. So if he is in front leading into the last corner, Chantra might have to try something rather risky if he's going to win this race. So see there, Chantra just having a look over his shoulder just to see where the rest of the pack is. You don't have to worry at the moment, Somkiat. They are a good 6 seconds further back.
Yeah, just out of shot. Ayagura has taken 3rd place from his fellow Japanese rider Kazuki Masaki. So Masaki's lost at 3rd. Agura trying to put the hammer down. He's already trying to make a break, actually. He's only 2/10 of a second clear of Masaki through the second split as Chantra moves up the inside of Izdihar to take the lead back. 2.5 laps to go here in Qatar. And Chantra, number 18, that was a nice move up the inside of Izdihar at turn number 12.
Maybe Somkiat's been listening to your commentary, Matt, and has thought, well, I actually need to be leading here.
Yeah.
At this point of the circuit, this is where I need to be in front, because I'm clearly not getting the job done. Oh, my gosh. They are all on the artificial grass there, both of them. That is the thing, when you're following a rider so closely, it's so easy to get sucked into the same things as what they do, and they both go onto the grass there. Luckily for them both, there wasn't any gravel there, because otherwise they could have both been down.
Yeah. And that's both times, I think it was Chantra, wasn't it, that got into 15 too hot. And like you say, his line of vision distracted. It was Izdihar that followed him through. So Chantra over the line, 2 laps to go. Leads this race. Izdihar looking for a pretty ambitious move around the outside. That's not going to work, Andy. Ayagura has crossed the line in 3rd place. And Masaki lost another spot on that lap number 12. Here we go. Chantra in way too hot. There are a couple of metres onto the artificial grass there, the 2 men at the front of this field. Masaki back in 5th, with Shogo Kawasaki now up to 4th place. Kawasaki has finished all 3 rounds of the championship in 7th place. That would be a personal best for the young Japanese rider, back with the top 2.
Gura still in 3rd place, ahead of Salim now, who's gone up ahead of Kawasaki and Kazuki Masaki. But we're focusing on the battle for 1st place with 2 laps to go. Somkiat Chantra and Izdihar. This is the fight further back in 3rd. Ayagura there, the championship leader coming into this race, and he would hold on to it if he was to manage to finish 3rd there. That would be a good effort, because he's got some fellow Japanese riders for company. There's 5 Japanese riders in that 6th group.
And who has slowly but surely just ghosted his way to the front of that group. Number 4, Jerry Salim. He's only got Ayagura ahead of him now. It's been almost a carbon copy for Jerry Salim in this second race. Not for the victory he would have wanted to have made it a double win here as we see Izdihar and Chantra locked side by side coming through turn number 11. It's still advantage Chantra through the sequence of fast right-handers. Will he be able to keep it on the tarmac coming through turn number 15? We've seen a couple of big mistakes from the number 18. Here we go again.
I've got a slightly nervous feeling about these two. I really have, because I don't think either rider really wants to give the win up here, even though it would be beneficial to the pair of them to get a big haul of points. Izdihar especially, as we mentioned already. Here we go then, onto the start-finish straight, and then we will begin the final lap here of this race in the Asia Talent Cup. Izdihar, number 23, trying to get into the slipstream again of Samkit Chantra as they go into turn 1. Chantra makes him go the long way round. That's not worked so far for Izdihar, and it won't work again here unless Chantra runs wide and he can go up the inside. This is the battle for third. At the moment, it is Jerry Salim. We'll have to start calling him Last Lap Larry, because he saves himself right until the end.
Well, Chantra got great drive coming out of the final corner. He had 3 or 4 bike lengths on Andy Izdihar, and that was enough to lead over the line. Izdihar thought about a look up the inside there. Chantra wipes his nose, though, runs a little bit wide. Does he, Chantra? No, he's able to pull it back. Both in the high 2:11, so they've upped the pace massively on that previous lap. They were 2.1 seconds quicker than the chasing group, these leading two. It's still Chantra from Izdihar. Is there going to be fireworks coming through that turn 15? We've seen them both make mistakes twice in this race before.
Bit of a chess match.
Ooh, big moment there.
It was a big moment. Battles for third, of course, a number of those riders there. Kawasaki didn't come off too well out of that, looking for their first podium. But this is the battle out front.
Yeah, Izdihar closing up there, a fraction on Chantra. He's got to be right on his back wheel coming out of that final corner. Or would he attack now, coming through turn number 12? We've seen him have a go at this stage of the circuit before, not close enough this time. Chantra keeping his momentum up through these right-handers. It's all going to be about a move on the brakes maybe at turn 15, or that drag, the slingshot to the line between Chantra and Izdihar. This is coming up to turn 15. We've seen them make a mess of it before.
They have indeed, but I think Izdihar might try for a move up the inside on the final turn. Neither of these guys have actually been able to successfully slipstream each other once they get to the line. Here we go into the final turn, and he's not doing it, so he's going to rely here totally on slipstream. And I'm not sure, Matt, if he's even close enough to do it. It's now down to the line. Chantra, number 18. Look who's just tucked up behind him, Izdihar. He's not close enough. Or is he? They pull out here. Oh, he is! That was timed perfectly. And Izdihar, out of nowhere, wins it, and Chantra's absolutely gutted.
Chantra can't believe that. He thought he'd done all the hard work. Third place has been taken by yesterday's winner, Jerry Salim, by a fraction from Masaki Yamanaki. Cooney, Ayagura and Kawasaki. Wattle battle for third place. They were all covered by just 0.2 of a second. But Andy Izdihar, well, he got his tactics absolutely spot on. Chantra must have thought he had done it. The previous lap, he'd come out of turn number 16 and had just been able to lead over the line from Izdihar. You can see Chantra there. He is absolutely crestfallen.
I thought that Chantra had that one.
No, absolutely. Every single lap in the race, whoever could come out of the final corner, by the time they got to the line, they just held the advantage. Talk about timing it perfectly. Wait to the last moment. Andy Izdihar, he actually won. He took the checkered flag by just 0.03 of a second. Here we go. Building up momentum, going through the gearbox. Chantra at this stage thinks he's about to take his second win of the season, and all of a sudden, out from the right-hand side, pops number 23, Andy Izdihar. He must have seen the shadow coming. You can just see now his chin hitting the floor. Poor old Somkiat Chantra, because there you go, pipped by what? Half a wheel.
And the thing is, there's a bit of a fine art to slipstreaming, especially if you've got to get it done at a certain point down the start-finish straight. It's ever so easy to pull out too early. That was timed just perfectly. Had he have not pulled out at that moment, he would not have got the win. And of course, you've also got that danger of wiping out the rider directly in front of you. We've seen that happen a few times before in Moto 3. But yeah, perfect for Andy Izdihar. And boy, oh boy, didn't he need that for the championship as well. Because having missed that opening round, that's at 25 points that puts him right into contention.
And history repeats itself. Andy Izdihar, winner of round 2 here 1 year ago, does the same again with a late mugging of Somkhiat Chantra right on the line. Jerry Salim, coolness personified in that battle again behind the top 2, because he just left it very, very late, timed to perfection, and Salim got 3rd place. Incredibly close finish, 0.02 of a second clear of Kazuki Masaki. So it's been a really good weekend's work for Salim. 41-point haul for him, crucial in the championship.
Brilliant finish then on the line between these 2 riders, but fair play to the pair of them. Tactically, very, very strong throughout the race. Miles quicker than the rest of the pack, and it didn't go anywhere near yesterday. Nice to see that as well. This is a great thing. I mean, we're talking about riders here, some of them tiny, that are aged between 12 and 18. All 21 of them have finished the race. That's the really impressive thing here. They really are being taught very well by Alberto Puig and, of course, Hiroshi Aoyama. They're all down there giving these guys advice, and they've got, as you mentioned rightly yesterday, some of the previous Asian Talent Cup riders that are now in the World Championship going over and showing their faces. So really is quite good for these guys.
And what it all means in terms of the championship, we'll give you a quick update, is that Jerry Salim leads by 3 points from Somkhiat Chantra. Salim with a double podium here in Qatar, up to 71 points. Very tight at the top, just 11 points covering the top 4. But there is number 23, Andy Izdihar, as Steve quite rightly pointed out. A vital 25 points for him after a DNF in the opening round at Chang in Thailand. So he's hauled himself up into 5th place in the standings. He's just 19 points now behind Salim.
What a weekend Jerry Salim has had. He came into this weekend 4th in the championship. He comes away as the series leader. And in that fight for 3rd, I mean, you know, if you end up being the rider that finishes down in 8th place, you're only going to get 8 points. He's managed to get 16, which is, as a result, put him to the top of the tables.
There is Alberto Puig, of course, a Spanish kingmaker of some renown, discovered the likes of Danny Pedrosa, gave a great early break to Casey Stoner, all of the riders like Joanna Leve, Tony Elias, and as Steve quite rightly pointed out, the former 250cc world champion Hiroshi Aoyama working very closely with these young riders, and the coaching paying off, because great to see all 21, as Steve pointed out, finishing the race.
The great thing about this as well is the prize for winning this championship is you do get the chance to ride for the Team Asia team in the CEV Repsol Moto3 Junior World Championship as well. So there's the dangling carrot there for you if you can get yourself the spoils at the end of the season. Long way to go, of course, but fantastic finishing here from these riders.
Well, a great example of where you can go in this championship is Adam Noureddin, who we've seen race here before in this Stella Bance Asia Talent Cup. He's making his Moto3 World Championship debut a little bit later on here in Qatar for the Sepang International Circuit team. So if you show enough talent and potential at this level, then you will get your World Championship break.
Sounds like there's some sort of chill-out music going on down in Parc Ferme at the moment. It's
all seems like very sort of sedate and calm.
Yeah.
Not quite like, not like the racing, thankfully.
I feel like I want to sort of relax in a jacuzzi listening to... Izdihar then the winner of this race by 0.03 of a second, having pulled off the most perfect toe and slipstream down the start-finish straight to pinch it off Chantra at the last minute. Jerry Salim finishing in 3rd place, then Masaki, Yamanaka, Kuni, Agura, Kawasaki, all part of that huge group. Kawasaki, by the way, was the rider that on the last lap almost threw it all away.
Yeah, he had a big moment and he lost the rear, Kawasaki.
Results from this second race then. Andy Izdihar wins it from Somkhiat Chantra, Jerry Salim and Kazuki Masaki. Ryusei Yamanaka 5th ahead of Kuni, Agura, Kawasaki and Ardiencia. Further back in 10th place, I can tell you that it is Sujuwara, and we'll get there in a moment. Nice to see also that Tom Edwards, the Australian, who unfortunately was wiped out yesterday, finished in 11th. And it's Warapad Niam Sakan Sakul ahead of Idam Khairuddin, younger brother of Fahmy. Ali Futama 14th. Then it's Onchu, one of the twins, picks up a point there ahead of his brother Chan Onchu. Then Bahatin Sofwoglu, cousin to Keenan. Further back there, Supata, Ikmal and Kitchun Law finishing in 21st. Beautiful day here then. And Matt, what does that do for the championship?
Yeah, a double podium here for Jerry Salim. That moves him up to the top on 71 points. Somkiat Chantra so close to a victory in that second race. In second place, Ayagura third, Yamanaka in fourth. Just 20 points covering the top 6 riders. Sugawara there in 10th place. Tom Edwards scoring a few points after that crash yesterday. Picks up 1 place in the championship. Warapad Niam Sakan Sakul, 14th place for him. He's also moved up 1 place in the rankings. Idem Khairuddin, of course, younger brother of former Moto3 podium finisher Fahmi Khairuddin, also doing well in the championship. He's up to 15th place.
Much warmer day here at the Losail circuit than what we've had in previous days. Certainly it was raining the day that we arrived here, but things have certainly turned around now.
Yeah, crucial 16 points for Jerry Salim, following up that victory yesterday to move him into the lead in the championship. Still smiling then, Somkiat Chantra, despite that last gasp defeat to this young man. Andy Izdihar got his tactics absolutely spot on, pulling out of the slipstream just at the crucial moment to take a second win in a row here at Qatar.
It's the 5th podium in this class, including last year's tally as well, for Jerry Salim, who leaves with a 3-point championship lead ahead of Somkiat Chantra, who's second on the podium. The Thai rider likewise, 5 podiums now for him in this class. But it's only 3 podiums to Andy Izdihar in his career, and 2 of them have been wins, and both of them at this very circuit.
So, ladies and gentlemen, on top 3, it is round 2 here at the Control Circuit for the Showstone Asian Talent Cup. They now move on to round 3, but remember these names, everyone, we will see these guys in the future.
So the next race will be at the Sepang International Circuit in Malaysia, 13th of May 2016. That follows the World Superbike Championship. Next time they'll be in the MotoGP paddock will be in October, when, of course, we go to Motegi and Sepang ourselves. Let's look back on the highlights then of that second race. Somkiat Chantra on pole position number 18, ahead of Andy Izdihar number 23. We were wondering whether or not we'd have a 6-bike breakaway at the front like we did here yesterday afternoon, but it wasn't to be the case. Number 2, Kazuki Masaki tried to get through. Agura went into the lead but ran wide, number 9, and allowed a number of bikes through underneath. That meant that both Izdihar and Chantra were allowed to break away at the front as Alberto Puig looked on from various sections of the circuit. The lap times from the front 2 riders then really made the difference. Chantra, the Thai rider, led in the early stages, tried to build up a lead. It wasn't working out. Championship leader coming into this race was number 9 there, I Agura, but he continued to make errors and run wide into turn 1, and in the end had to settle for 7th place. This was the battle, though, went through all the way to the end of the race. They both ran into some trouble at one point, going onto the AstroTurf, shadowing each other throughout the entire 14-lap race. But then, as we look further back here at the battle for 3rd place, Kazuki Masaki, number 2, finishing in 4th place. This was the move on the line. Andy Izdihar just taking the win. And it will be Jerry Salim that will carry the championship lead through to Sepang. Thanks for joining us here in Qatar.